Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a topic today that completely upends a very deeply held assumption about how the world works.
It really does. It flips the whole script.
Right. Because we humans tend to look at our complex economic systems, our use of currency, long-term social contracts, and even transactional sex.
And we categorize all of that as uniquely human.
Exactly. We just assume that these behaviors are this, byproduct of modern civilization. But the sources we're digging into today tell a very different story.
A much older story.
Yeah. We are pulling from a fascinating collection of research today. It's actually centered around a Wikipedia article titled Prostitution Among Animals.
Which is quite the title.
I know, right? But the goal today is to look at how non-human animals use physical resources, how they establish long-term social contracts, and even adopt artificial money.
Just to navigate mating and survival.
Exactly. And for you listening, we're going to unpack all of this.
Because the biological and evolutionary realities beneath that sensational title are actually profound.
Yeah, it's not just shock value.
No, not at all. When we look closely at these behaviors, we aren't just observing random quirks of nature. We are looking at deeply ingrained evolutionary strategies.
Hardwired survival tactics.
Right. And today, we're going to examine three distinct environments. We've got the Antarctic ice, the jungle, and a sterile laboratory.
Quite the tour.
It is. And we're doing this to understand the biological and cognitive mechanisms that drive what we can really only describe as, well, animal economies.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are starting our journey at the bottom of the world, specifically Ross Island.
A very harsh place.
Oh, incredibly harsh. It's located about 800 miles from the South Pole, part of an Antarctica-New Zealand program.
It's an incredibly unforgiving landscape. You really can't overstate that.
And it was there that researchers, Fiona Hunter from the University of Cambridge, alongside Lloyd Davis from the University of Otago, they spent 5 long years there.
Just observing.
Yeah, 5 years observing the mating behaviors of Adélie penguins.
They were meticulously tracking how these birds interact, how they mate, and most importantly, how they survive the elements.
I mean, 5 years of standing out in the Antarctic chill, taking notes on penguin society, is serious dedication.
It's rigorous science.
It really is. And the resulting 1998 paper outlines some mind-blowing mechanics. The paper is titled Female Adélie Penguins Acquire Nest Material from Extra-Pair Males After Engaging in Extra-Pair Copulations.
A very literal title.
Very literal. And to clarify for you listening, extra-pair copulation simply means penguins stepping outside of their primary mating partnership.
Right.
But the physical transaction that accompanies this behavior revolves entirely around one thing: stones.
Which makes perfect sense when you understand the ecosystem. In that specific environment, stones are the ultimate commodity.
They are everything.
They really are. You cannot build a secure nest on the ice without them. That makes them a highly valuable, tangible asset.
They're essentially money.
They function as a natural currency. Without a stone-lined nest, your eggs are exposed to freezing meltwater and predators.
Exactly. So the drive to acquire these stones is inextricably linked to reproductive success.
Now, the researchers actually documented a strict set of geographic rules governing how this stone currency is exchanged. It's wild.
It's very structured.
Yeah. According to the study, if this extra-pair copulation happens over at the male penguin's nesting site, the female will take one or more stones from his site to go build her own nest.
Right, she takes the payment.
But if the copulation happens at the female's nesting site, the male leaves empty-handed. He takes nothing.
Which forces us to look at the biological why.
Why would he agree to that?
Exactly. Why would a male allow a female to take a vital survival resource from his own nest?
Especially when they're so hard to come by.
Well, in evolutionary biology, behaviors are almost always driven by genetic fitness. It's the imperative to pass on your genes.
So he's making an investment.
Precisely. If the male has just copulated with this female and she takes his stone to build a stronger nest, he's directly investing in the infrastructure that might house his own progeny. But wait, if she just steals the stone and runs away, why does the male even let her near the nest in the first place?
Ah, that's the catch.
Because the researchers noted this is not always a polite reciprocal transaction. Sometimes the females don't even copulate with the males at all.
They just take the money and run.
Literally. They just wander over, grab the stones, and bolt. Both males and females are out there stealing stones.
Because the environment is so competitive, a male has to let females approach if he wants any chance of extra pair mating.
He has to open the shop door, so to speak.
Right. Which leaves him vulnerable to theft. Sometimes the females get away with it, and other times they are caught and violently attacked.
It's a high-risk resource market.
Very high risk. The male is essentially taking a calculated gamble every time a female approaches his territory.
And the deception goes even deeper. The study observed that some female penguins will fake a willingness to copulate purely to avoid getting into a physical fight.
Just to secure a stone.
Yes, they engage in the preliminary courtship behaviors just long enough to lower the male's defenses, grab the rock, and run.
What's fascinating here is how Fiona Hunter interpreted this complex web of deception and transaction.
She had a very specific take on it.
She did. She pointed out that we shouldn't reduce this to a simple one-to-one economy where a rock equals a sexual favor. She explicitly stated that these female penguins probably aren't engaging in this behavior solely for the stones.
I found her quote on this incredibly revealing.
What did she say?
She said, quote, "What they are doing is having copulation for another reason and just taking the stones as well. We do not know exactly why, but they're using the males."
That is a crucial observation.
So what is the alternative goal here, if not just building materials?
This brings us to the mate choice hypothesis. The idea is that these female penguins are essentially window shopping.
Window shopping for partners.
Exactly. In the harsh environment of Ross Island, mortality rates are high. A female penguin needs an insurance policy.
Because her primary mate might not make it.
Right. By engaging with these extra pair males, she is assessing potential future partners just in case her current mate doesn't survive the season.
So the stones are just a perk.
The stones she takes are essentially a bonus, a fringe benefit of scouting a backup mate.
Multitasking survival strategies. But based on Hunter's data, I should point out for the listener, this is not a widespread societal norm for the penguins.
No, it's a minority behavior.
Right. She noted that only a few percent of the population engaged in this specific behavior. So this isn't the default for every bird.
It is a rare but highly sophisticated adaptation. We are seeing a natural resource with intrinsic practical value being utilized within a complex reproductive framework.
But it's very immediate.
It is. The penguins are trading physical objects for an immediate need. If we want to look at what happens when a trade requires memory and delayed gratification, we need to shift our focus to an entirely different environment.
Let's do that. We are moving from the Antarctic ice to the dense jungle of Tai National Park.
Shifting our focus to our closest evolutionary relatives.
The chimpanzees?
Yes. This brings us to a landmark study by the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology. It was published in the Public Library of Science.
And the premise of this study is what really hooked me.
It's critical context. The researchers didn't just go into the jungle looking for transactional sex among chimps.
No, they had a bigger human question in mind.
They were actually attempting to test a major theory about human evolution known as the meat-for-sex hypothesis.
Which is the theory that back in early human hunter-gatherer societies, the most successful male hunters secured the most sexual partners.
The ones bringing home the most protein, exactly.
It makes sense on a basic survival level.
Early anthropologists hypothesized that this dynamic was a foundational building block of human societal structure.
But we obviously can't go back in time to watch early hominids.
We can't.
Yeah.
So researchers turned to wild chimpanzees. They form complex communities, hunt cooperatively, and share many social parallels with early humans.
The goal was to see if this meat-for-sex dynamic existed in a species so closely related to us.
And the findings were staggering.
Yes, the headline is amazing. The study concluded that yes, females do offer sex to males in exchange for meat.
But we need to clarify how that actually looks in practice.
Right, because the actual mechanics of how this exchange happens completely shattered the initial expectations. It wasn't the direct transaction you might picture.
This is a crucial distinction. When humans hear exchanging meat for sex, we default to visualizing a direct, immediate trade.
Like buying a coffee. You hand over a piece of meat, and a sexual favor is immediately returned.
Exactly. But that kind of instantaneous one-to-one exchange was rarely, if ever, observed by the researchers.
That part threw me off at first. It wasn't a vending machine transaction. There was no stake equals immediate copulation dynamic playing out in the jungle.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are actually witnessing is the establishment of a long-term economic system.
The long term being the key word.
Yes. These chimpanzees form sophisticated communities based around hunting and sharing meat over extended periods.
So it's not just a one-off event.
No. The data revealed that females within a specific meat-sharing community have a strong tendency to copulate with the males of their own meat-sharing community.
regardless of who handed them meat on any given Tuesday.
Precisely. It's not about the immediate exchange.
It's like keeping a running tab at a local bar.
That's a great way to think about it.
Christina Gomes, one of the researchers, actually stated that the study strongly suggests that wild chimpanzees exchange meat for sex and do so on a long-term basis.
Think about the cognitive processing required for that.
It has to be immense.
It is. This isn't a simple biological reflex. For this system to work, the animals have to recognize individuals.
They have to remember past interactions.
Exactly. They have to track who the reliable providers are over weeks or months and adjust their social and meeting behaviors based on that accumulated data.
So the males are providing high-value, calorically dense resources to the community over time.
And the females are reciprocating that value through sexual access, but it is a trust-based economy.
It completely blurs the line between a primal biological urge and a structured community-wide economy. They're essentially tracking social credit.
They are. But again, we're still dealing with natural resources that have intrinsic value.
Right, meat is food.
Just like for the penguins, it was stones for shelter. For the chimpanzees, it was meat for caloric energy.
It has a practical, immediate use.
The leap from trading valuable natural resources to trading something with abstract value is a massive cognitive hurdle.
And that leads us to our third source. This is the one that really blows the doors off the whole topic.
It is an incredible experiment.
We are leaving the wild behind and stepping into a laboratory at Yale New Haven Hospital.
A very controlled environment.
We're looking at a study involving researchers like Stephen J. Duvner and Stephen Levitt. They wanted to study the economic behavior of Capuchin monkeys.
And to do this, they introduced a completely artificial concept to the monkeys.
Fiat currency.
Yes. We need to define why fiat currency is such a difficult concept biologically.
Because it's basically fake money.
Exactly. Fiat currency has zero intrinsic value. The silver discs the researchers used had no nutritional value.
You can't eat them.
You can't use them for shelter, and they offered no physical warmth. To a monkey, a rock should theoretically have more inherent value than a silver disc.
So to make this work, the monkey's brain has to process representation.
The idea that this useless object represents future purchasing power.
And the researchers successfully taught them this concept. They trained the monkeys that if they handed over a silver disc, they could exchange it for various treats.
And the monkeys grasped the concept of exchanging this useless silver object for a tangible reward incredibly quickly.
They really did. The researchers were primarily running tests on basic economic principles.
Things like price shocks, budgeting.
Right, and preferences for different types of food when prices changed. The monkeys were exhibiting rational economic behavior.
But then an isolated incident occurred that wasn't part of any planned experiment.
Right, so they gave the monkeys these silver discs, expecting them to just buy apples or grapes. What actually happened?
A researcher observed an interaction between two of the monkeys that completely sidestepped the food economy.
This is the crazy part.
One monkey was seen giving a silver disc to another monkey, and in exchange for that abstract currency, they engaged in sex.
They took a completely artificial concept, a silver disc acting as fiat currency, and applied it to their most primal biological drive.
Without any prompting from the researchers.
But the detail that makes this truly unforgettable is what happened next.
Immediately following the transaction, the monkey who received the silver disc, the one who was paid for the encounter,
She took her newly earned money.
walked right over to a researcher and traded it for a grape.
It is the full economic life cycle. Earning, exchanging, and spending, all using an artificial currency.
Let's break down the cognitive layers required for that sequence of events. First, the monkeys demonstrated a firm grasp of abstract value.
Okay.
Second, they took that abstract value and independently applied it to an interpersonal, non-food transaction within their own social hierarchy. And third, there was the immediate conversion of that earned abstract currency back into a tangible survival resource.
Buying the grape.
Exactly. It demonstrates that the cognitive architecture required for complex commerce is not exclusively human.
So what does this all mean for you listening? When you look at all three of these sources together, it challenges our entire perspective.
It really does.
We've got penguins executing calculated tuttle heists. We have chimps building long-term social contracts based on meat distribution.
And Capuchin monkeys spontaneously inventing transactional sex with silver discs.
Right. We like to look at commerce and economics as the pinnacle of human societal evolution. But this deep dive shows you that biology and economics are universally intertwined.
They cannot be separated.
The drive to survive, to mate, and to secure resources creates economies everywhere. It doesn't matter whether the currency is a rock, a piece of meat, or a useless piece of metal.
It highlights the importance of evolutionary biology in understanding ourselves.
Because we aren't as detached from nature as we think.
Not at all. The complexities of our modern economies didn't simply materialize out of nowhere when humans learned to write or build cities.
They were already there.
The evolutionary roots of commerce, social debt, and transactional relationships are visible across the animal kingdom. We are simply expressing these ancient survival strategies through the highly complex lens of our modern world.
To quickly recap this incredible journey for you today, we started at the bottom of the globe, watching Adélie penguins trade shelter materials for extra pair copulations.
While simultaneously window shopping for backup mates.
Exactly. Then we moved to the Thai National Park, where chimpanzees demonstrated that they don't just trade meat for sex directly, but instead rely on complex long-term memory to build trust-based economies.
The social credit system.
Right. And finally, we ended up at Yale New Haven Hospital, watching Capuchin monkeys bridge the gap between abstract fiat currency and biological drives.
Just so they could buy themselves a grade.
It is a remarkable spectrum of cognitive and evolutionary behavior.
And as we synthesize these findings, this raises an important question for you to mull over.
What's that?
We've seen how quickly abstract concepts like fiat currency and commerce can be adopted by capuchin monkeys to fulfill their basic biological drives.
Almost instantaneously.
So what other social or economic structures that we currently consider uniquely human are actually just waiting to be unlocked in the animal kingdom, assuming they're simply given the right kind of currency to work with?
That is a fascinating thought to leave on. If they can figure out abstract money and transactional commerce that quickly, what else are they capable of if provided the right tools?
It definitely changes how you look at a zoo, doesn't it?
It really does. We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope this exploration into the complex economies of the animal world has sparked your curiosity.
And maybe changed how you view the nature of commerce itself.
Absolutely. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking for those unexpected connections, and never stop learning.